This is the Heel to the Face podcast. So Brandon, Triple H this week said Paige might have kids that she doesn't know about. How is that possible for a female?
Yeah, that to me, that makes really not much sense at all.
More on this as the Heel to the Face podcast starts right now.
So silence your cell phones, hold your applause, and tune into the truth.
Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody.
Getting beat up by 9 guys in Syracuse, to me, there's not a whole lot of shame in.
From the 315 to the world, this is the Heel to Face podcast.
The cream of the crop! Wow, man, freaked out!
Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Heel to the Face.
I said, are you ready?
From Armory Square in downtown Syracuse, New York, let's send it now to Brandon and Jared.
Bad luck seems to be my middle name. They might as well tag me up with my buddies from Syracuse.
This is another edition of the Heel to the Face podcast. We are less than 2 weeks away from the Royal Rumble event as WrestleMania season gets underway. We're joined as always to my right, left. I don't know, however you're watching us on YouTube, to the side of me, Brandon the Icebreaker Clements. You can find him on Twitter at Icebreaker21, myself at KRock Jared, and most importantly, follow the show at Heel to the Face. So we're coming up on the Royal Rumble. We're coming off of Tessa Blanchard becoming the first women's champion in a major promotion in the modern era, all around the same time that she's experiencing a lot of controversy around her at the same time.
Yeah.
I guess she is more like China than we thought. Not more like China than we thought in the sense of what she's done, but I guess the controversy surrounding that. So let's start right there. Tessa Blanchard becomes the Impact World Heavyweight Champion. I think we all saw this coming.
Yeah,
because
I mean,
they
it was
wouldn't have
obvious.
promoted the match so heavily if the result wasn't there. But what do you make of the fact that before the result was there was all this controversy surrounding her? Do you think Impact maybe should have done something at the time to not give us that result, or taken a step back, or just kept going full steam?
I think they were full steam. I think they were locked in. Well, here's the thing. There was a lot of flack that she got on social media. And it wasn't in regards to the match in particular. It was, I think it was a wrestling poll somewhere, or some article came out and said that she's going to be the superstar of the year or something coming up, like someone to watch out for. Mm-hmm. And I thought, like where was the other females on there? Maybe like a Becky Lynch, a Charlotte Flair, and I guess she was supposed to be she's supposed to be this big name that's coming up. But her detriment, like her conduct, has been very detrimental to the product.
Anytime somebody reaches the peak of the mountain is all of a sudden, we've seen it now in the Hollywood world. I guess wrestling is more like Hollywood and the rest of the stuff than we thought. So as Tessa Blanchard's about to reach the peak, all of a sudden word gets out that she threw some racist slurs against another female wrestler when they were in Japan. And spit on her as well. Current WWE superstars and former Impact superstars like Chelsea Green and others have on Twitter pretty much gone forth and said, yeah, the bullying, the racism, these are actual things that I've seen and witnessed.
Yeah, and here's the thing, too. I read something interesting recently that WWE officials were close to signing her. Like, they had her at the Mae Young Classic.
She was a part of some NXT matches in 2016, 2017.
Yeah, she was there a couple years ago, and I think WWE saw too many red flags and said, no, we're gonna take a hard pass, when a lot of people thought, wait, why aren't they doing this? And now we're kind of seeing why WWE maybe took a step backwards on that and said, yeah, we're gonna backpedal and not bring her in. Depending, I mean, there's no doubt that she's gifted as an in-ring competitor. Mm-hmm. But if your conduct is detrimental, where you don't play well with others, it's probably not a good move. I think there's, and plus if all those things that were reported by other superstars on social media were true, that's not something WWE wants, especially as a family-friendly product.
So I guess outside of the controversy with Tessa Blanchard, my question that I have that goes with her now becoming the main heavyweight champion, does this in Impact Wrestling or any organization like WWE, does it lessen the importance of the women's championship? Let's just start with Impact Wrestling. Does it lessen the importance of the women's championship in the exact company in which she is the heavyweight champion?
I don't think so.
Does ODB have any sort of less importance? I think she's the current women's champion. There might be Valkyrie there. I think actually I watched the match. I forgot who won, but either way,
I think ODB might have won.
Yes,
I'm
it
not
impacted her.
100%. I think
So, but I mean,
so.
ODB is a very tough competitor. She is somebody up there who I could see. I mean, that's kind of her gimmick. She could go up against the men. I mean, she really takes on all comers.
Yeah.
She's not a quote unquote diva. That's always been her claim to fame. Does it though take away a little bit from her or any of the women's champions, the knockouts champions, the fact that, you know, the best woman essentially obviously must be Tessa Blanchard and not them?
I mean, I think it's actually good for women's wrestling across the board. No, I mean, a lot of female wrestlers would probably say, you know, too bad it's the wrong person because it seems like she doesn't have a lot of friends in the business. But I think overall, I think it's good because there's people talking about women's wrestling, and a woman is, you know, kind of, you know, won a men's title, quote unquote, and I think it only helps the women's revolution, or whatever.
So
the
you
hell
think
wanna
if
call
a
it.
Becky Lynch was, let's say, Universal Champion or WWE Champion, that there still would be just as much importance on the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships as well?
I do. I think so. I don't see why it wouldn't. I don't think it would work in WWE per se, but any of these other promotions that are trying to.
Why does it not work in WWE versus these other companies?
I think here's the thing. The thing that I would say about WWE is it might lose some credibility in some aspects because in reality, are there some women out there that can, I mean, I know wrestling's fake. We all know that. In reality, could she really take him out, Callahan?
I mean,
real
I
life.
guess here's the good way that sort of worked is the fact that Sami Callihan, while he's a very muscular dude, he is not your typical. He's more of your Kevin Owens look. He's shorter. I mean, I've seen him wrestle in person before. I've been backstage with him. He is not a very tall gentleman.
Yeah.
Tessa Blanchard is probably taller than him.
Probably.
So I think that helps in this regard. Obviously, I mean, we don't even get started on a Tessa Blanchard versus Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Or something like that.
That would be a little ridiculous, I think.
Yeah, or any female wrestler like Becky. I mean, I think Tessa's bigger than Becky Lynch. Tessa might be more similar to a Charlotte Flair.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
when it
she's
comes
got
to her build.
The build for sure. I just don't. I mean, I think it's good for these promotions like the Impact or the Ring of Honor, places like that, because then you get more people that maybe are non-traditional fans or followers of the program to say, wait, there's a woman wrestling in the main event for a men's title. For WWE, they really don't need it. I think it would kind of like if that happened and it won't ever happen. I don't think that would ever happen with Brock Lesnar. But say Becky Lynch beat Brock Lesnar. I mean,
the reason Brock Lesnar is the champion is because of the fact that Vince takes into consideration exactly what you're talking about and what looks believable.
Yeah,
that's why Brock Lesnar's the champion. That's why he's not. I mean, that's why essentially Kofi Kingston's not the current champion over Brock Lesnar, because he says, takes away the credibility of Kofi Kingston, lifts up Brock Lesnar and slams him to the ground or something like that. Brock Lesnar looks the part. That's why he likes.
Not to say that I'm sure there are plenty of female competitors in the fight world or wrestling world that could beat some men for sure. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's some. I mean, Ronda Rousey comes to mind. I think.
Yes.
Ronda Rousey.
Chyna was. I believe lots of rumors were slated, thrown around that the idea of her becoming the first ever WWE champion as a woman was very much a real possibility back in the day.
Yeah, I mean
she became IC champion.
Yeah, she was IC champ. I mean, she legitimized herself. Like she was, she was a trailblazer. And unfortunately, I mean, we've talked about this every year, which we will soon enough. Hall of Fame coming. Does she get her due? Yes or no? We're gonna get to that later. But Chyna was a trailblazer. And because of things that maybe she did outside of the wrestling business, they may not want to put her in for that.
So. Moving on to where wrestling is scripted, but might not be as scripted as you think. I actually kind of came across this last week, and it's very interesting because wrestling has real life built into it when it comes to the future of Tyson Fury in WWE. You see, he's about to be in a real boxing match against Deontay Wilder on February the 22nd.
Can't wait.
And he says that his involvement in WWE going forward will be the result as long as he is current champion. So he's going to be in a real boxing fight, a real championship fight, and if he is really victorious is what will dictate whether he moves forward in WWE.
Which is kind of cool.
He doesn't want to do the Ronda Rousey route. He doesn't want to come in, because Ronda Rousey, I think, made a career change. He's kind of a special attraction, Tyson Fury.
Sure.
And he doesn't want to come in down. He wants to come in as the Brock. He wants to come in. That's his gimmick. He wants to come in as the Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather, when he came in, I mean, he's unbeatable. You can't stop him. I'll take on all comers. So Tyson Fury wants to do that if he comes in WWE. I understand. He wants to come on top of his game. Sure. He wants to be promoted as the current champion, take on all comers. He doesn't want to be promoted as some guy who's doing this.
Can you blame him, though?
No, I mean, he would look, obviously, especially coming directly off of the loss. If he loses on February 22nd, he'd be going into WrestleMania as some guy who's like, oh, he just lost. His whole gimmick, his whole, character is essentially this larger-than-life, take on all comers. I can beat them all. I can laugh at them all. I can do it with one hand behind my back. So if he's coming in as a loser,
it's not.
It doesn't look.
Yeah,
as
it's not.
cool.
It doesn't look as cool. It doesn't look as maybe legitimate as WWE is. Not really. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, it's fake. We get it. But here's the thing: having him in there as undefeated and this and that, and beating the Bronze Bomber Deontay Wilder. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty legit. I mean, Brock Lesnar did some things in UFC, but he also got beat by some people that I don't think we're ever going to be champions, really. Like, I still remember the fight with Mark Hunt. Like, Mark Hunt was kind of a middle of the card kind of a fighter, and Brock got handled by him. So I mean, it'd be like Tyson Fury fighting maybe a lower level heavyweight fighter.
With the UFC, UFC is different. I mean, Brock Lesnar looks completely different when it comes to UFC. I mean, obviously he had a big beard then. I mean, he just looked like. And he spoke. He didn't have Paul Heyman by his side.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So it was like a completely different look when you saw him in there. And I don't want to say he really ever got handled by anybody. I mean,
he got his ass kicked. He did. He got his ass kicked.
In UFC, I mean, it's really hard. I mean,
he got his ass kicked. He did.
CM Punk for sure got his ass kicked in UFC.
Brock Lesnar did too. Brock Lesnar got his ass demolished by Cain Velasquez. Like, literally, they were talking about they were hyping up the Cain Velasquez Brock Lesnar thing, and literally Brock wears the wound right on his face. Well, so that tells me Cain kicked the shit out of him. That's just how it went, and that's no knocking Brock Lesnar, because Brock Lesnar did some things in the UFC that not too many people in WWE or in the wrestling world have done. So I give him that tip of the cap. But guess what? He got whooped by Cain. And if he fought a guy like John Bones, Bones would knock him down. That's just. Brock Lesnar was the right champion at the right time in UFC. If you put him in his prime in UFC versus what they have in the heavyweight division now, I don't see him doing much.
So next week, before the Royal Rumble, the night before at the Toyota Center in Houston, is WWE When Worlds Collide, NXT versus NXT UK. Now, it's kind of an interesting setup because it's not a takeover event prior to the Royal Rumble. It's NXT versus NXT UK. And one thing that's pretty interesting as well is, even though NXT is involved and it essentially is kind of like a takeover event, the crowd isn't going to be anywhere near that size, or the hype isn't going to be anywhere near that, for the fact that I've already looked into it. I already have my tickets. I have lower level tickets. They were also cheap tickets because of the fact that they're only selling the lower level. They're not even selling the upper bowl of the Toyota Center in Houston. Do you have interest? I mean, it's Finn Balor versus, I don't know the name, but it's an NXT UK guy. It's going to be a group of NXT UK guys and featuring Walter against Undisputed Era in a 4-on-4 main event.
I'm sure Gallus will be there. Gallus is a big they're a big big tag team in
it feels like
UK.
The NXT version of Survivor Series.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I think you're right. It does have that feel to it. It'll be interesting because Walter is Walter's really good. I mean, he's tremendous. I mean, that whole crew there.
Well, Undisputed Era is great.
It's gonna be fun. I like it. You know me, I'm a Survivor Series guy. So if comparing it to Survivor Series, I think it's cool because you're getting the best of both brands.
It's unique for WWE to pull this out the night before Royal Rumble, because they've done these When Worlds Collide before, when they've had 205 guys go up against Raw guys or vice versa, but they've always been a part of either Royal Rumble or WrestleMania Access, meaning they were when you went to Access, they get you to go to multiple days because it's the same exact museum every single day. You can only look at the same merch over and over and over again, but they have different matches. Like day one might have some tournament matches, and you can see if you're watching on WWE Network, watching any WrestleMania hypes where they have Michael Cole chatting in the background, it's like there's a ring and they're wrestling, and there's just people standing around, and they have like 5 or 6 matches, and like they had these When Worlds Collide because it was not the main people that are in WrestleMania. It's just a thing to keep you interested to actually be watching live wrestling while you're walking around Access. So they've never actually done it as an event before, as a paid, you're just going to see this.
It's weird though, they're only doing the lower bowl though. That's very interesting.
I mean, the fact is, it's a week before the event and tickets are still available, and they're only selling like the lower bowl.
That's so weird because
NXT is normally the hottest ticket of the weekend.
Yeah, that's weird because NXT and NXT UK, like I've seen NXT UK plenty of times on the network, and the crowds are pretty good.
The crowds over NXT UK, you got to admit, they haven't, like the one over the weekend in Blackpool was obviously a smaller crowd. They did more of that kind of, indie wrestling look. It wasn't at, the O2 Arena in London.
No,
it's
like more intimate that way. I kind of like that.
It
I like
looks
that
more
feel.
like the old Royal Albert Hall, the kind of a couple thousand, maybe 1,000 people.
Well, it's kind of like the classic Raw look too, like a smaller.
Yeah,
a
like
smaller
the classic
setting.
Raw look, exactly.
Yep.
So, that is true. But we haven't seen NXT UK filling up an arena.
Not to that capacity, no. They sold out some decent size, venues. I would say it's not the equivalent of a big arena, like maybe like a United Center, things like that. But they have a niche, and I'm very surprised that only the lower bowl is being sold out. Hopefully it sells out.
It's really unique the way they're doing this whole weekend because of the fact I was talking about this with some other people. I'm kind of wondering if the stadium experiment might come to an end after this year. Now, the tickets are selling great for the event itself. It's going to look exactly like last year. They're coming out of the dugouts at the Astros Stadium. And so it's going to look pretty much identical to last year's Royal Rumble. And the seats, it actually looks like they've done better when it comes to selling tickets than they did a year before. But I guess the reason I'm saying I feel like this might be the end of the stadium experiment with the Royal Rumble is last year they pulled out all the stops when it comes to the fact that if you're expecting to draw 45,000 people to an event, you obviously are expecting a good chunk of that crowd to be WrestleMania-like, flying in from out of town. And if you're flying in from out of town, like WrestleMania or any other big event, you're making the whole weekend of it. You're doing the NXT, you're doing Access, you're doing that stuff. And
Hall
last
of
year,
Fame,
they had Access for the Royal Rumble. They had Raw in Phoenix, SmackDown in Phoenix, NXT in Phoenix, and obviously the Royal Rumble itself. This year, SmackDown the night before is in Dallas.
Weird.
I believe they're running a house show on Saturday night on top of the NXT. So some of the Raw or SmackDown people might not even be coming in until Sunday. And then Raw on Monday is from San Antonio, not from Houston. So when worlds collide at the Toyota Center in Houston, the home of the Rockets, I'm kind of interested in what kind of setup. I probably think it's going to be a small setup because it's not going to be the Raw or the SmackDown setup in the sense because it's the only show. They have rented out the Rockets Arena. Can you believe it? WWE rented out an arena for one night only. That's
so weird.
Obviously, with WrestleMania and the other ones, they rented out for the whole time. The Hall of Fame, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, it's all the same setup. It's all the same ring. But they're putting on this this event in which they're only selling the lower bowl of seats. They rent it out for one night. They're not getting SmackDown out of it. They're not getting Raw out of it.
Yeah, they're not really getting. I don't really think they're getting much of a return on it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, obviously it's a big arena that's home of the Rockets. So obviously
it's a few thousand people.
Probably 18,000 people can fit into that place, and yet they're renting it out for one night. So the setup, I bet you, is probably going to be similar to what you see for NXT television for the entrance, which is cool and unique in a way because I'm not going to watch SmackDown on Friday night and know exactly what it's going to look like on Saturday. But yeah, it is kind of strange. You're expecting 45,000 people to come to Minute Maid Park in Houston, but if they want to watch Raw and SmackDown, they're out of luck, and it's not in Houston.
Yeah, that's weird. I would think the way they would do it now would be,
SummerSlam was the same 4 nights in Toronto. Survivor Series just had 4 nights in Chicago. WrestleMania, obviously,
do
4
this. It's not hard. You do Friday and Monday. And NXT and like an NXT takeover,
that's what they normally do. Friday, yeah.
You would do Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, same arena. I'm saying Friday, Saturday, Monday, same arena. Sundays where the big one is at the big park, and then you're it. That's it. And then you get your money's worth. And then the people that are coming in get their money's worth as well. If they're traveling to Houston, you're giving them stuff to do on 3-4 nights in a row.
That's what happens when you go to WrestleMania. This year, for example, you have the Hall of Fame on Thursday. SmackDown on Friday, NXT on Saturday, Raw on Monday, 4 shows from
around the WrestleMania,
the arena in Tampa,
and you got plenty. And that's good.
What you just did for Survivor Series. You just did SmackDown, NXT, Survivor Series itself, and then Raw 4 nights at the Allstate Arena in Chicago.
I would consider that kind of poor booking, poor planning. I guess.
That's
weird.
Very odd. It's just odd for WWE. I don't think it's odd in the sense of I kind of like it in a way, but it's weird that they're doing it around the event that has the largest, meaning I would understand if the Royal Rumble was at an arena, but it's at a stadium. So when you put an event at a stadium, what WWE is putting out to the public is, it's not my opinion, and it's not your opinion if the Royal Rumble is the second biggest event. It is the second biggest event, according to WWE. I always used to think Survivor Series, or SummerSlam was. But what WWE is telling me is the Royal Rumble is the second biggest event. How are they telling me that? Because they're putting on the WrestleMania treatment for it. They didn't do that for SummerSlam or Survivor Series. So the fact that they're, again, putting it in a stadium, they're trying to put it in a stadium and get a similar crowd to a WrestleMania for the Royal Rumble, but then they're shutting down all the other stuff when it comes to access, the Superstore, the whole 9 yards. They don't have any of that going on in Houston. It just seems kind of weird from their perspective. That's not something that they would normally do.
It's just odd. It's just really odd. I mean, let me ask you this. What are your takeaways from, we'll start with SmackDown. Anything of note this week? Anything you want to talk about?
No, I mean, I guess the biggest thing in the SmackDown world is for one day, Corbin, Kentucky was called King Corbin, Kentucky. They got the mayor to sign a petition. So when they had the house show there last Sunday, King Corbin, Kentucky was the name of the town.
Of course they did. I mean, it's got to be. It's part of his shtick.
But they got the mayor to sign off on it and everything.
I mean, it was cool to see the Usos back in action. That was cool. That was.
And we saw John Morrison. I mean, they're really.
Yeah,
he's going to be back in action on SmackDown this upcoming week.
It's just weird how they brought him back, though. I figured they would make it a little bit bigger of a deal. I mean, they literally debut him first off. He opens the door the week before, and says, "Yeah, he's he's like, yeah, Mrs. we're not. He's not talking to anybody at this point." And then this past week, Ms. TV. Like, I would have thought. I mean, I guess they're doing.
They did a highlight package, kind of trying to pump him up.
I feel like it kind of fell. I feel like it fell flat.
I mean, it fell flat because you were expecting with the Royal Rumble coming up for there to be a big Royal Rumble thing, and there's still the opportunity of a few Royal Rumble returns, but we know how WWE is. They fall flat when it comes to the Royal Rumble every single time.
Oh, for sure.
But, you want to talk about some surprising returns. Let's finish off the show right here. The way we pretty much started the show, Triple H has since apologized for making the joke. He did mention at a media conference talking about the returns to the ring of Edge and Paige that he would like to see both. He thinks that they're both very talented, and then made a joke saying, well, Edge does, have other obligations. He has kids at home. And Paige, while she doesn't have any kids that I know of, she might have some kids out there that she doesn't know of. It wasn't really that bad of a joke. I guess it didn't make much sense to me because guys can have that, but I mean, females, it's kind of hard for you to have a kid.
Yeah, yes. It's kind of, you kind of do all the heavy lifting. So, very weird. And it's weird. It wasn't kind of, I feel like it was sort of in poor taste. Not only, knowing Triple H's background, he has 3 daughters. Like, that's not really setting the right example for, his kids either, I mean, I thought it was the joke. I get where he was trying to go with it, trying to make a ha-ha funny, but the way he worded it was it was in poor taste, I feel like. Yeah,
Triple H does get the luck of being able to put that out on Twitter that he's sorry, and then moving on from here, because that was obviously any other employee, probably WWE, he'd put on Twitter that he was sorry after they said, you're fired.
Yeah, you're fired.
So, good for Triple H. He's allowed to be able to do that kind of stuff and then be like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of wrestlers should be able to do that. I mean, because it didn't seem that it was horrible, but I just feel Titus O'Neil said it.
All right, well, here's the thing. Leo Rush didn't even do anything that bad, and he was in the doghouse for a while, and now he's earning his stripes back down in NXT.
He's making his way slowly.
I mean, at least they put a title on him, so like he's not that buried, but he was buried for a while where he didn't do anything.
So, final question. More of a possibility. Paige shows up in the Women's Royal Rumble. Edge shows up in the Men's Royal Rumble.
I'll say Edge.
You'll say Edge. I personally think, because I know WWE, 45,000 people, they'll still drop the ball, and it won't be that big of a deal.
No, it'll be, again, I said it on last week's show, it'll be like Hurricane Helms.
Yeah, it'll be Hurricane Helms or something like that. I mean, they'll probably say, yeah, we got 45,000 people here. This will be a good night to, let the pyro just take a night off. They'll probably even say that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I remember last year at the Royal Rumble in front of the huge crowd, they let the sign take the night off. They're like, we don't want to put the sign up here and then have to put it up on Raw the next night. We'll just put it up on the video board. We'll put up a graphic that says WrestleMania, and we'll point to the graphic.
Pure laziness.
Yeah, pure laziness. When you're putting a WrestleMania-sized crowd in a stadium, you're drawing people from all over the world to the Royal Rumble, and you can't give us pyro or a sign.
Makes zero sense to me.
All right. Makes zero sense to me, too, because, I mean, that just was the height of their cheapness, I think.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
So that's going to do it for this week's edition of the show. Next week will be the hype to Royal Rumble. We'll try to give some of our predictions as well. Maybe some predictions on some surprises, some predictions on the matches itself. Talk about AEW's Bash at the Beach, which is going to go on tonight as of recording of the show.
Yep.
See if anything happens in NXT as they build up to When Worlds Collide. And maybe we'll even talk NWA and Ring of Honor. They've been working together a lot lately. So maybe we'll have time for that as well. For Brandon the Icebreaker Clements, for myself at KRock Jared, this has been the Heel to the Face podcast.